Hey, how you buckaroos? Thought I'd come back one more time anyway. All right. Something's not working here. Are we working? Are we on? Is this thing working? There we go. Okay. That was weird. Okay. I was getting a little delay for some reason. I couldn't figure out what was going on. All right. There we go. Let me set that down there. Try to keep this one simple. Just poured me a beer. An M80 lager from Banter Brewing, 6.7%, and I describe this as a beer. And I don't mean to be flip when I say that. It because that's what it is. I mean, you're not going to get any funky flavors, aromas. It's just going to taste like a beer to you. And I was saying that to someone I was handing one to the other day, and he was kind of looking at me strange. And then he took a drink. He took a drink and he says, "That tastes like memories." Yes, that's what I was going for. It tastes like memories. Just that slightly. Uh, a craft malt liquor, if you will. Really? Yeah, I mean, it's just a better version of, right? The nice, easy drinking lager at 6.7%, but just much cleaner uh, than its macro counterparts. Decided to pour myself some whiskey neat. Didn't want to go cocktail this time around. So I gave myself a nice, healthy pour, as you can see. I've been feeling, I was feeling Irish today. I was feeling a bit Irish, man. Scotty, my good friend Scotty, gave this to me for my birthday. It's a 92 proof rum cask finish Irish whiskey. It is a blend. Let me show that to you. Oh yeah, yeah. Uh, Often described by some as the smooth, sweeter one, as compared to Scotch, tends to be a little bit more subtle. You gotta have a palate, man. Oh yeah, okay, I see where they're going here. Thought I'd relax, just have a little bit this evening, since like I said earlier, I'm off tomorrow, so I can stay up a little later. They get up early. I'm not sure how I'm still around, to be honest with you, because I got up about 5:30 this morning. Could not get back to sleep, so I ended up just at 6:30. I just gave up and got up for good. Worked my shift till about 9:30 this evening. So quite frankly, I'm not sure how I'm still like you get past a certain point, right? And you're real tired, and then okay, you get that second wind, but hoping I could just kind of crash this evening and sleep in tomorrow since I am off. Oh man, that is a nice beer though, isn't it? Uh, find it interesting working in a brewery. So I've worked at a brewery before, but in sales. This time I'm behind the bar, and it's different input, right? You're dealing with folks that think they know, but they don't always. And sometimes it's hard to not correct them, right? Because you never want to make, you know, you don't want to insult your clientele. So when you hear something just so glaringly wrong, you're just going, oh, gosh. You try to, for me anyway, I try to think of a way that I can correct them where it doesn't sound like I'm correcting them, right? You don't want to just go, oh, man, but you get a lot. Well, this batch tastes different than this. Why does that taste different? Well, maybe it does. However, maybe it's your memory of that. Maybe it's your taste buds tasting this one. So if your taste buds aren't exactly fresh, maybe you're not exactly tasting it correctly, and you're relying on a memory, right? You don't have the one you had before and the one you're having now side by side. So you're you're relying on just a memory, but they're always so sure they're accurate. Okay. I usually just say, well, all I can tell you is the ingredients are exactly the same. He made no changes. So I don't know what perceived differences you're getting, but nothing was changed from this batch to the last batch. uh, and the bar know-it-all, there seems to always be one. Sometimes you have that regular that's always, sometimes it's kind of somebody transient that comes in every once in a while that is so sure they're 100% correct. They go to all the breweries, so they know. But not only that, they've done some home brewing, so they know exactly what every style should taste like. Uh-huh. Let's try to take it with a grain of salt. It's one thing I like when I travel and try different breweries to see others' interpretation of, for instance, when we went to Columbus, Ohio last year, it was near, it was around Oktoberfest, but it was more than that. I mean, that community is very much German influenced. So there was a lot of German styles, again, especially that time of year. Um, but it was interesting. All of them, for the most part, you had some that were taking some liberties, but for the most part, most of the breweries were trying to stay true to the style. But even doing that, there can be some taste profile differences, and that's something that's hard to make folks understand. That even within style guidelines, there can be many differences. Went to the Hofbrauhaus because I'd never been to one, and almost everything is brewed on site except for their Oktoberfest, their marathon. That one is sent to them, and it was very good. But all their styles were rather amazing. So since they are a German chain, I was kind of using them as a template because I was tasting that beer as I was going to the other breweries around there. And I'm telling you, like I said, I mean, hey Jason, how are you, man? I'm gonna post a comment there. Um, Even staying true to the style, you can still have some differences. But I am a guy that likes traditional style. So for me, I really enjoyed it, right? And then I did hit some other breweries that had, the other things, right? The hazy IPAs, the double this, the double that. Yeah, you did find those, but it was in September, so most of them hadn't gone into that, had gone into those fall styles quite yet, other than the Oktoberfest. Uh, But it has some mighty fine breweries out there. I got to tell you, I had a day in Indianapolis, so I had five breweries out there, and all were very good. Some I liked better than others, but all were done well. And the reason I say that is, yeah, we all have styles, and we all have preferences. So yeah, there are some breweries that were more in my wheelhouse, but all of them were very good. I'm not into trendy styles as much as some. A lot of that is because I'm old. Right? I'm 60, so yeah. I mean, if I walk in your brewery and all you got is milkshakes and sours on the board, I'm probably not going to stay long. But I'm not your demographics. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with what you do. It's just you're just not my wheelhouse. But that was another thing, traveling that time of year is, again, a lot of the breweries were German influenced anyway, and then being around that Oktoberfest period, a lot of them had more than they usually would have. I tried several different Märtzens at these breweries, and like I said, some I may have preferred more than others for my particular taste, but all of them were done exquisitely well. And I think that's the subtlety that a lot of folks seem to make. Just because it's not particularly in your taste preference or wheelhouse, it doesn't mean that the beer is bad or there's something wrong with it. If you can detect a flaw, there's nothing wrong with that beer. Not everything has to be done exactly to your taste. And that's really a hard thing to explain to some beer geeks because they think everything is about them. But it was interesting to see a lot of different interpretations of the style, yet all of them still remaining true to the style. So I'm going to take a vacation here shortly, going to a different part of the country that I actually had been there before, but it's been a lot of years. And they've had a lot of breweries added since. It's been well over a decade since I've been out in this area. And all the breweries I'm planning on hitting weren't there at that moment in time. So, and I'm going to be able to visit a couple of old friends I haven't seen in one in over a decade, one pretty close to it. One friend has since opened a brewery, so I'm really curious to get out there. I've had some of his beers before, but again, we're talking almost a decade, so I'm curious to see, as a brewer, how much his style has changed. Because he had a particular, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say wheelhouse. He had a particular lane, I guess. And when I look at what they have on tap, it's a little bit different than I remember what his style was. So I'm kind of curious. There's only one distillery in that particular area, but I've never been to it. I've had many of their products over the years. Sadly, but most of the products that I've had from them, they don't make anymore. So I'm a little bummed about that. This particular distillery was about 20, I don't know, 2013, 2014 when I first had it, but they used to do this hickory smoked whiskey, hickory smoked Arkansas whiskey. That was just insanely good. And they were a relatively new brewery, so it could only be so old. But I was really hoping they still did it because I mean, a 10-year-old version of a hickory smoke whiskey would have been awesome. But they don't even make it anymore, so I was rather bummed about that. But now that they've been around for a while, they do have some, they've got some bourbon and longer aged bourbon and other whiskeys. So it's okay. So I am looking forward to trying those, but I am rather bummed that they don't have that hickory smoke whiskey anymore because that thing was just insanely good. You probably guessed I'm not really in this jazz club behind me, right? I'd like to think you're that perceptive. Anyways, I digress. I better wrap this up. I better wrap it up, man. I do like this Teeling whiskey. I want to thank Scotty for giving it to me for my birthday. We're not quite 2 months from then, but I put a little bit of damage on it. I kind of forgot about it for a little bit, but last couple of weekends, I've really been drinking a lot of it. I get in moods for Irish whiskey. There was a time, probably from my early 30s to maybe even early 40s, I was really into the almost nothing but Irish whiskey. But since then, I've kind of gravitated back towards my roots, especially with so many small distilleries popping up here in the States, especially in a lot of them not too far from me. So I do like bourbon specifically, but various American whiskeys. But I really enjoy the relatively young category of American single malts. I love the interpretation of that. Some are trying to do an interpretation of a single malt closer to a Scotch or some even an Irish. But some are taking it to a whole other level and using new oak, taking that, giving that barley more of that those big wood notes, and it's just insane. So, anyways, I digress. I am Tom, the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, all around good guy, and cilantro.